just look at who Tom is. If you like to be around him, he's nice to everybody, and you don't have any doubts that he truly believes in what he's trying to talk to you about. So there's not a false bone in his body.
Tom has always loved High Point, and anything that came up that was of importance to the city, Tom was always involved in. He had a knack for pulling people together, both in the private and public areas of High Point.
We had some integration problems in High Point, where there were marches and where there were some people who went to jail, including myself and my late wife and others. And we, in turn, were able to work together with all of the community and integrate everything here. All of the schools, all of the restaurants, all of the hotels, everything was segregated, but we integrated everything. And we didn't have a lot of violence, and we all were able to work together. And that's how I got to know Tom. That's when I got to know Tom Haggai.
One of Tom's passions was, quite frankly, for years, his commitment to educating and helping the young people today. And in placing these students in the classrooms, the foundation touched many, many lives.
Down the road, 5-10 years down the road, having the Haggai Academy and gaining notoriety and recognition lets individuals in the community out there who are passionate about education but perhaps haven't yet entered into a university program, let alone a teacher preparation program, it lets them know that there is a place for them where we are ready to provide them that opportunity to be trained and to change the lives of children.
As a student, being a recipient of the Haggai Scholarship has really meant a lot for me. I grew up as a minority, having to hear that I was not going to go to college, that I was not going to be able to make a difference, and by having him and the whole exec board recognize my potential, it really means a lot, and it has opened so many doors for me already, and it also has helped me believe in myself a lot more and see things in myself that I might have not seen before.
Many things would not have happened without Tom Haggai's forceful position on bringing people together and making things happen. He made it happen.
Thank you. And a special thanks from me to Jim Morgan and Zaki and David Miller and Jim Melvin, who nominated me for this award. 4 years of age, my dad said to my brother Ted, 5.5 years older than I, "Ride with us, we're taking Mother to the doctor 40 miles away." And so we stayed in the car. They went to see the doctor. And as they were coming back, a man was walking up the sidewalk, and I looked at him, and I said, "Ted, I don't know where it ever got to word, but I said, is that the N man?" And he came over and he said, "Boy, don't use that name." And he slapped me. And I thought, well, when Dad comes back, I'll put on a crying thing. So he came back and I told him what happened, and I was crying. I don't know about you. If you've never been hit by the backhand of a boy who was born in Damascus, he whacked me, and I think he knocked me across the seat. Never use that name again in my life. Now tell me how that helped me. Well, because I lived that way, I had the privilege of knowing Dr. Brown, who you honored here 2 years ago. And when Richard Nixon chose him with one mission on the extended cabinet, and that was busing, he said, well, I have a Southern Baptist minister in my town, and can he go with me? And I could introduce him because he said I'd spoken to 75% of the textile companies, and that's going to be the best way to get busing across the South. And so we did it. And believe me, when you think about it, when busing was underway, not one child was hurt, not one school bus was damaged, not one brick was knocked off of a school, all because of him. Then later on, we moved to Massachusetts, and I picked up a neighbor across the street from the parsonage, and we became buddies all through the first 6 grades of our education. And I came home one day and I said, Mom, Bob's aunt has now moved in with him. And I was in her talk, and she kept talking about blue blood, blue blood. She said, Tommy, I'm concerned about the red blood. And that's why I try to cook in a way that you have the best that you can have to eat, is what we can afford. And yes, with my background, you go back to the beginning pretty much of this country. Our people got here in the middle of 1600s, and they have societies that try to keep that history alive. And you would qualify to join any of those different groups that you wish. And you may want to. I would suggest that maybe you may not want to, because you see, that's how I came. Your dad came on a ship through Ellis Isle, and they explained to him what coming to America meant. And from that moment on, he couldn't wait to get old enough to apply to become a citizen of the United States of America. And so, respect the people that have a great history in this country, like my folks, but respect the fact that in that day, when your dad was coming, his father, your grandfather, had 3 stores, took all the money to buy his way out of Syria. And they came to the United States. They wanted to go to Mexico, but the United States was half the price of going to Mexico. And grateful I am that they never decided to pick up and go over to another country, but they stayed in these United States. And then I think of the other matter that sometimes people think about, and that is that my dad would come back to my bed on Saturday mornings and tell me Bible stories. And so I learned very early on that Israel was God's chosen people. And so therefore, I've just loved my Jewish friends because their grandfather was Abraham. And what friendships that has meant for me. And I admire them because in the United States, the most generous part of our population are Jewish. And when we came to High Point in '56, Thomason School, to begin the Emerywood Baptist Church, 2 years later, they wanted to build a new synagogue. And they chose the property right across the little thin road between our property and their property. And someone said to Edward Silver, why did you build so near that Baptist church? And he said, look, we have one rabbi, and if he happens to get sick with that fella, and his name, nose, and coloring, we put a yarmulke on him, put him in, they won't know the difference. And sure enough, when they opened the synagogue, they had a yarmulke built for my head, had to have it made my head so fat, it's turned yellow now. And you see, with that, it doesn't bother with the other problem. From Syria, or Zaki from Pakistan, or all those countries. Abraham was still their father too. Remember that God had told Abraham he was going to have a wife. And so one time, Abraham sort of doubted his God, and he didn't think that his wife Sarah, at her age, could have a child. So he had a child by a midwife, Ishmael, before Isaac was born. And so really, Zaki and Nito Cobain and I had the same Abraham. So what I'm trying to say is, the NCCJ has caught my eye because everything I'm saying is, I was fortunate. I just plain like people because my parents prepared me to like people. And that's what they're doing. And having the camps where the children mix, whatever background they have. And I wanted to be a stronger and stronger So the Triad can be known as a place, as these young people step in the steps that we've been, that this is a good place. If people want to live where people love people, come to the Triad. So I commend the people who have this dinner tonight. I thank you, and I join you.